Hi once again and welcome back to the Columbus School of Chinese here in Columbus, Ohio. My name is Donald Newman and this is Ask a Chinese Teacher. Today's video is going to be the first of a few episodes about tones changing. The why, when, and how the tones of a word or character can change. And this is something you might not be aware of as a beginner. Your teacher might not mention this right at the beginning because it's kind of overwhelming already to be learning about tones in general if you're coming from, for example, an English-speaking background where we don't really have tones in the same way that we do in Mandarin Chinese. So tones of certain words can change sometimes. And today I'm going to be talking about two of them that the tone will change, but it doesn't change the meaning of the word at all. Sometimes when a tone changes, it can change the word's part of speech or the meaning altogether. Today I'm going to be talking about two instances of words that I guarantee you're already using, if you've had any Mandarin at all, that actually change depending on the tone of the word that comes right next to it, that comes directly after it. All right. Luckily, the rules are the same for each of these, and they generally are not broken. The first one of these words we're going to look at today is bu. Bu is what negates a verb or an adjective. It takes it from to be and makes it not to be, right? We put a bu in front of things to negate it. Let's take a look at these rules here together. So you may have noticed bu a lot of times is read as a fourth tone. Sometimes when you see it written out, typed out in pinyin, it might be a neutral tone, and in practice, bu sometimes is read as a neutral tone. But if we look at its tone, if we looked it up in the dictionary, it would be a fourth tone. Most of the time it is a fourth tone, but we do have one change here, as you can see. So if the bu is followed by a first tone, a second tone, or a third tone, that bu is always going to be its original fourth tone. 不听,不忙,不好, right? That 不 is always a fourth tone. However, if that second word is itself a fourth tone, we're not going to have two fourth tones in a row, that 不 in the front of it is going to turn into a second tone, kind of rising up to meet where that fourth tone starts. 不对. 不对. Your tone is making an apex. You're coming up to where that fourth tone starts. Because if we remember, a fourth tone has to start very high before coming back down. 不对,不对. Alright, so those are the rules for 不. The other word or character I'm going to be talking about today that I guarantee you're already using is the word yi, or the number 1. You might have got in your very first Mandarin lesson ever that yi, the number 1, is read as a first tone, a flat tone, yi. However, it's only ever read as a first tone like that when we're counting or when we're reading out a series of numbers, when we're reading out a serial number or perhaps a phone number. It's going to be read as yi. In the real world, when we're counting things, when we're using a measure word to count things, the tone of that yi is going to change depending on what comes directly after it. So it's the same kind of situation as bu, and in fact, it follows the same exact rules as bu, as we'll take a look at here. So again, if you looked up yi in the dictionary, it would be written as a first tone. You would see a first tone there. However, when it's followed by other things that we're using a measure word to count, these are all followed by measure words here. The tone is going to change depending on what comes next. If the following character is a first tone, a second tone, or a third tone, the yi that comes beforehand is going to be read as a fourth tone, right? 一只,一层,一本. And similar to 不, if the second word is a fourth tone, then we're going to rise up to meet it with a second tone. Yi will be read as a second tone. 一次,一次. Alright, so to recap here, for both bu and yi, The tone that you read them as will depend on the tone that comes next. If the following tone is a first tone, second tone, or third tone, then your bu or your i will be read as a fourth tone, a falling tone. If the following character is a fourth tone itself, then we want our bu or our i to be read as a second tone, rising up to meet where that fourth tone will start and come back down again, making an apex. All right, so for those of you who might have been hearing these words read differently in certain situations, now you know why. We're following these tone change rules here.